People always want to know, man, how do you do this? How do you do that? And you can't be afraid to give people information, man. That's what helped me on my journey. If I didn't ask questions and I didn't take other people's approach and other people's experience and other people's trial and error, I wouldn't be where I am today, which is climbing along the ladder. But I can look down and see where I was. You understand? So what I can do is I can extend a hand to you and pull you up to where I am. And I think that's the best way to live your life. You got a lot of people out here who really feel like information should be private. You should charge people information. You should charge people for information. You had to learn these lessons, and you had to, you know, you went through your own experience, and you don't want to just freely give that away because you feel like you had to put in work or whatever to get to where you are. But I don't believe in that, man. The game shouldn't be sold. The game should be told. Now, I pick up my felony in 2012, right? At that point, I'm going to college, community college. I'm going to community college because I didn't know what else to do after high school. The traditional route is college. So I went. I got accepted into Virginia State University, Virginia Union University, these two HBCUs. I declined to go, but I do have my acceptance papers. I keep my acceptance papers just so that I can say, I could have went if I wanted to. But college wasn't really for me. So I get a felony in 2012. And at that point, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my future. When you first get your felony, life is tough. Life is hard because you have to put down on every application, hey, felony, felony, felony. And companies don't have to hire you, especially if you got a fresh felony. But that was 10 years ago. Things have changed a lot in recent years. Like if your felony is 7 years old or something like that, you don't even have to put it down. And all of this new marijuana legislation and stuff like that. See, I'm a convicted felon for marijuana. And I've gotten pardoned for that. I submitted a request to be pardoned. I explained why I thought I deserved it. It had been 10 years at that point since I caught the charge, and I hadn't gotten into any more trouble since then. So I received a pardon. So that's step one in rehabilitating yourself. Okay, so what you should do is, first of all, you can't get into any more trouble, because if you allow time to go by in between your conviction, you'll look better. It looks a lot better to say, it looks a lot better for someone to say, you know what, I caught my felony 5 years ago, as opposed to, I caught a felony, I caught this last year, I caught that. You have to get to a point where you stop getting involved in the system. That's what I had to do. I had to come to a realization that either I'm going to continue down this criminal path and continue to rack up charges, or I can sit back, relax for the next 10 years and allow this charge to get old, and then I can actually give myself a chance. I didn't know that the marijuana legislation was coming down the pipe. And that helped me out tremendously because, people have a different view on marijuana. It's legal now. So to be a felon for distribution of marijuana isn't the worst thing in the world. But 10 years ago, when marijuana was illegal, they treated you just like somebody who spent their whole lives in prison. I've never touched a prison, but I was treated that way. So the first thing that I had to do was I had to come up with a plan. I'm not getting caught for any more crimes. I'm not. And at that point, I was driving without a license. Thankfully, the state of Virginia enacted a new law where you didn't have to complete all you didn't have to go through the checklist by the court, pay your fines, do this, do that to get your license back. If you were convicted of a crime that was non-driving related, you could go get your license back without paying fines. So I got my license. I made sure I stayed on top of that. You have to stay on top of things like that. You have to keep up with the law, because had I never kept up with the law and didn't keep up with updates and didn't keep up with the Virginia House of Legislation, I would have never known that I could go get my license. It's guys right now to this day who live in Virginia who say, I can't get my license. And I'm like, you can. So you have to stay abreast of legal information in your state. So that's step two. Step one, don't get caught. Give your record time to breathe so that you can actually say, okay, it's been a year since I caught that felony. It's been 2 years, 3 years. I haven't gotten into any more trouble. That's the important thing, to create time in between your charges. Second thing, keep abreast of the law in your local state, because things change all the time that could possibly benefit you. Things changed in my state over the course of 10 years. I was able to get my license. Marijuana got legalized. And, if you got possession of marijuana, misdemeanors, they got wiped off your record. They don't even show. And I got 4 of those in a distribution of marijuana. So all I have now is distribution of marijuana. So keep up to date with the laws. After about 10 years of not getting into any trouble, apply for a simple pardon, which means your state is going to forgive you. They're going to put forgiven. Every time somebody searches your background, they're going to say, the state of Virginia has forgiven this person. You understand? And then the next step after that, in another 10 years, is to get a full pardon. Once, so the way it works is you get a simple pardon. You prove to the government, you prove to your state, hey, I hadn't gotten into any trouble in 10 years since I quit the felony, so I'm eligible for the simple pardon. Once I get the simple pardon, I can prove to them again in another 10 years, hey, I haven't gotten into any trouble again. Give me the full pardon and completely wipe out my record. Expungement is next. So I understood all of these things. When I first got my felony, I was doing research into what's the difference between a simple pardon, a full pardon. You got to keep yourself abreast of that kind of information. And I designed a plan. And my plan was, I don't want to get into any more court trouble for 10 years. So, and the next thing is you got to find employment. You got to find a way to make money. And luckily for me, I was always into English. I always liked English. I was scared to create my own company because I always thought that you needed a big idea to start your own business. You understand? You got to have some big idea. You got to do something that the people want. But I learned that you have to take chances and you have to do what you want, what you like. So I always liked English, went to City Hall, started up my own tutoring company, and here I am. And what I did was I started with my sister's kids and her friends' kids, and it gradually expanded into what it is now. I've been living in the same place for 20 years, so I'm kind of like a fixture in the neighborhood. And the kids know me. Parents know me, the Latino parents, the black parents, the Asian parents, everybody knows me as an English tutor. So eventually, once your name gets out there for whatever you do, people will start coming to you. You understand what I'm saying? So bam, that's a source of income for me. And then I just, picked up a part-time gig at a hotel. So extra money for the bills, and I never would have did it if I was scared. And if I kept thinking, well, nobody who would pay me for English advice? They already got people out there for that. But I tried it because I like it, and it turned out to be a lucrative thing. I'm able to pay my bills from it, and it's cool. And I feel like I'm doing something positive. So yeah, man, that's what helped me. That's the road that I traveled down after I got my felony. I basically hung up my boots. I wasn't a criminal anymore. I had to give my felony time to get old, apply for my pardon, and I had to take a leap of faith and create my own business. I had to understand that just because you don't have a grand idea doesn't mean that you can't create a business. All you have to do to create a business is go to City Hall and have an idea. English tutor, I figured that was good because I'm good at it. I do well. I'm well versed in English. I'm a great writer. I'm a great speaker. And I just figured that it doesn't require any startup money. All I need is just a room, and yeah, man. So that's what helped me get myself together. And I'm only 32, and I'm still in the process of trying to figure out what I want to do for the rest of my life. I'm just at a point now where I'm maintaining. I'm self-sufficiency was the number one goal. My next goal is going to be retirement and figuring out what I could do to generate enough money over the next 20 years so that I can retire. But you have to maintain goals. For the past 10 years, my goal has been not getting into trouble. Now, my next 10-year goal is self-sufficiency, maintaining, building a work history, building a tax history and stuff like that, building my credit history. So I don't know, man. I just think that if you plan things out and you really give it a good go and you're not scared to try new things out, you can succeed, man. Because there was a time when I was depressed and I thought that my life was over with because I had a felony. You understand what I'm saying? But I had to take a leap of faith. I had to realize, hey, I can start my own business. I don't need this big idea to start a business. And that's why I'm able to report from home all the time because, either the kid comes here or I come to the kid, or I rent out a little space and I have multiple kids come. But I'm pretty much in control of my own schedule, and I know that I can't really work a traditional job full time. I can only do part time. So I know I have to start my own business, and I have to generate money through my own means as opposed to working for a corporation. You understand what I'm saying? So you got to get to know yourself. You got to learn yourself. That's all a part of the process. But the most important thing, man, is you can't keep getting into trouble. You got to stop. You got to make this your last conviction and let 10 years go by. I know 10 years sounds like a long time, but it's not a long time. 10 years went by fast for me. I never thought I'd be at this point. I was like, I remember the day I went to court and got the felony. I remember the process of going through my arraignment. I mean, time felt like it was so slow. So if somebody would have told me, hey, 10 years from now, you're going to get pardoned, I would have said, what, 10 years from now? But you got to keep it going, man. You got to keep it pushing and you got to keep it going. And like I said, man, you don't need a big idea to start your own business. There are plenty of businesses that you can start using your own passion and talent that require absolutely no startup money, so, do your thing, man. And, like I said, man, I wish you guys the best of luck. That's what worked for me. That's how I went at it. And, it's been working. Peace.